It's official. Queenslanders will decide on a new state government on the 24th of March. The Premier Anna Bligh today announced the date, saying it'll give voters time to analyse the findings of the Commission of Inquiry into last year's floods disaster. Queensland State political reporter Chris O'Brien says the floods were critical in the Premier's decision to announce an election.
Absolutely, Nicole. It's the reason that history has been made in Brisbane today. For the first time in history, Queensland voters know in advance when their election is going to be. Of course, there are no fixed terms in Queensland. It's always been the Premier's discretion when they call the election. But because of the flood inquiry from last year's floods, ironically on a day when it's flooding again in Brisbane, the extension of the deadline for that report, it was going to be the 24th of February. It's been pushed out to the middle of March. So the Premier, who wanted voters to see that report before they went to the election, has been forced to choose. And what she's done today is announce that the state election will be held on the 24th of March. She will go to the Governor on the 19th of February. That's when the caretaker period will officially begin. The other ramification, Nicole, is the local government elections. The Brisbane City Council and all other local council elections were due on the 31st of March. They'll be pushed back to late April or May. The Premier could have delayed her own election. In the end, she had a choice to make. Her decision was clear.
What was clear is that I had to make a decision to move one or other of these elections, otherwise they would be happening at the same time, which even local government have indicated would be completely undesirable. Look, frankly, I thought about extending my term beyond the 3 years and it just didn't sit right with me.
So, Chris, what are the key election issues for Queensland?
Well, first and foremost, today we have to say that that flood report will be, when it's handed down on the 16th of March, there might be more ramifications, interestingly, not just for the state election, but for the local government elections as well. So Anna Bligh says there might be adverse findings in that report for politicians at both levels, and therefore they will play into both elections. But at the state level, the biggest problem for this state Labor government is that they've been in power for 20 of the past 22 years in Queensland, and the LNP opposition has a line, Nicole, they call Labor long-term and tired Labor government. So that's the first issue, really. Management of the economy, of course. There have been some tougher times in Queensland than Queenslanders are used to recently. Things are bouncing back, but that will be an issue as well. State debt is something the opposition is seizing on. And, of course, long-running issues in health. That happens in every state, doesn't it? But there have been problems specifically with the health payroll system in Queensland. That will be a major issue in this election as well.
And just briefly, we know the Premier is facing some stiff competition. Who are the polls tipping?
The polls are tipping that the opposition will win. The polls are tipping that the former Brisbane Lord Mayor Campbell Newman, now leader of the LNP, extraordinarily from outside Parliament, he doesn't have a seat yet, but the polls are tipping he will win his seat and his team will win the government. Of course, Anna Bligh will not go down without a big fight. She fought back well 3 years ago in the last campaign, but the polls are tipping a Labor loss, Nicole.
Chris O'Brien in Brisbane, thank you.
You're welcome, Nicole.